on, right? Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. I am talking about 2022 goals, and I cannot believe that 2022 is like literally in 2-ish weeks, which is just crazy to me. And so I want to talk about that if this will go. So goal setting for 2022. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. Sorry, my computer has been like the slowest thing on the planet lately, and it's almost time to get a new one because I've had this since I was in high school. So goal setting, essentially. The one thing, a lot of this that I'm talking about, it kind of comes out of 12-week year, because that is kind of the new way I'm going at my goal setting and doing that. And so the thing with that, the 12-week year, the one thing that really like hits in the beginning that I thought of was we all have two lives. We have the lives we live and then the lives we could be living. And so I just want you to think about that, because there's this life right now that we have that we think we should be doing, and like we kind of have these boundaries of what we think our life should look like. But there's also a life that we could be living if we were just willing to go out there, go after it, and really make things happen. And then something I want you to think about is execution is a single greatest market differentiator. So what that is really saying is, it's great that we're going to write down all these goals. It's great we're going to talk about goals and we're going to set goals. But if you don't do anything to execute them, they're just going to stay goals. Like nothing will happen if you're doing nothing. So it's just important to think about, like, if you're not going to execute it, if you're not going to go after it, then this time is great, but you're really not going to get, to where you want to be just by writing a goal down. You have to take action. I put this picture on here because this was my first time ever at Summit. I was a baby coach. I was only a coach for like 2-3 months at the time. But it kind of completely changed the entire trajectory of my coaching career. It kind of got me fired up. It was at Beachbody Summit, which is like our convention each year. And being surrounded with 20,000 coaches and just being around everyone and doing the live workouts and going to the sessions and hearing the top coaches speak and seeing the recognition, that was kind of the flipping point in my Beachbody career, where I decided like I was going to do this and I was going to do it to the best of my ability, because I have the life I'm living right now, but I want that life that I could be living. And so Summit tickets are on sale right now too, and it's in St. Louis this year. So if you haven't bought a ticket, or you've thought about going but you're not sure, or maybe you're new to coaching and you're like, I don't even know what Summit is, we can talk about it more. But Summit was the thing that completely changed everything for me, and I think it's like the most a lot of people who are on this call or listening to this call later, they're ag teachers and they understand the power National FFA Convention has. So think of it's like the coaching version of National FFA Convention. And so it just changed everything, and you get to see the life you could be living. So tonight we're going to set goals. Most of us set goals. We think of like, my vision board is for 2021. It's a whole year. Well, the 12-week year talks about, we're not going to set goals anymore for 1 year, but for 12 weeks, because we have to create urgency. And maybe you're like me. If you know something is way far off in the distance, you're not really going to work on it. You're just going to kind of let it sit there. And then when the deadline gets closer, then you'll start focusing on it. So the point of the 12-week year is that you only have 12 weeks to get something done, right? So now it's no longer 12 months, it's 12 weeks is your year. And vision is the starting point of all that says, I guess, I don't know where your people are on here, but vision is the starting point of all high performers. And so what it means by that is, before we even set goals, I just want you to take a second. I'm going to set the timer for about 60 seconds. So not long, but I want you to think about, like, in 12 weeks. So in March-ish, because I'm going to start my 12 weeks on like January 1. What do you want your life to look like? And I'm not talking about what rank are you in Beachbody. I'm not talking about how much money are you making. I'm not talking about how many people you have signed up under you. I'm talking about, what do you want your life to look like? Do you want to be less stressed? Do you want to have more wiggle room in your budget? Do you want to have that trip planned that you can go on? What do you want your life to look like? Do you want to feel more comfortable in your skin? So I'm going to set a timer for about 60 seconds. And you can also look at your long-term vision. So not only the 12 weeks, but also like long-term, like 3 years, 5 years, like where do you see yourself? What's the vision for your life? And where could this take you? Like if money wasn't a factor, if fear wasn't a factor, like if you got to determine, if you got to say, if I am this successful, if I had this, then this is what I do. So just take 60 seconds and I want you to think about that. Okay. So that's important to keep in mind, because when we come back to our vision, obviously we want our goals to lead to that. But this is like your big, like, why are you doing it? Right? Like some things in my vision, like I want to be able to retire from teaching. I want to be able to retire Shane or find him a different job because he absolutely hates it. Like, what are things that, when you're looking at how will I feel? Like I won't have the Sunday scaries. I won't have the thing where I'm sitting here at 8 o'clock on Sunday night and I'm like, dang it. Like, I just wish I had another day in the weekend. Right. So those are what motivate me forward. So I want you to work on that vision, and we'll probably continue to work on vision. Okay. So we just kind of talked about that. What will your life look like at the end of the 12 weeks? A lot can change in 12 weeks. Are you less stressed? Are you more confident? Do you feel like you're in a good routine? I think routine's a huge one, right? Are you maybe in a routine with your tracker? That could be a really good one, right? Maybe it could look like you are rank advanced or whatever. So I want you to start. This is where we're going to start looking into those goals more so than vision. Vision is your more so broad. Like I picture being able to go on family vacation for vision. I vision, not having to go back and working a 9 to 5 after we have kids. I look at all that stuff as a vision, whereas goals are more so like, what are the boxes I want to hit? So the 3 things you're going to need when we're looking at our goals, before we actually set the goals, I want to talk a little bit about these. So number 1, you've got to have accountability. And we're lucky we're in a group where we can have accountability here. But at the end of the day, what accountability really means is taking ownership for what you're doing. Okay. So you need to be thinking, you need to be talking to yourself and saying, man, like I need to hold myself accountable to getting my workouts done. I need to hold myself accountable to, getting my tracker done, or mine lately is being accountable to being off my phone when Shane and I are spending time together. Right. But it's essentially taking ownership. Second is commitment. I wonder if I can find this really fast, because there was a really good quote about it. Just there's a whole chapter in this book about interest versus commitment, right? So we have to get better about keeping our promises, because a lot of times we'll commit to something and we'll say like, I really want to do this, right? So at that point we're interested, right? A lot of us, we joined coaching because we were interested in coaching, but when it came to like the commitment part of doing our tracker, the commitment part of showing up day in and day out, the commitment part of reaching out to our friends and family and people we know, we come up with these excuses because we were interested in it, not committed to it. So we have to make sure that we have that strong desire and that willingness to even do the things that maybe aren't necessarily like the super fun things or the things like we're scared of. I was talking to someone today and, I was just talking to them about a career change in their life and saying, like, well, what do you have to lose? Like, and they just said, well, I'm just really comfortable where I'm at. I'm really comfortable with my job. I know what I'm doing. Like, I don't want to move. I don't want to do that. And I was talking to this friend of mine and I just said, like, but the success and like these big things don't happen when we're comfortable. Like, I'm comfortable in my ag program. I'm not really like reaching above and beyond all the time. I'm just kind of going with the status quo. And that's not going to get us, these high accolades because, so just something to think about. And then greatness in the moment. And so the other thing is that, right, we have to decide every decision, right? You're one decision away from a different life. You have to decide in every single decision to make the decision that's going to move your life forward and move your business forward, move your fitness forward, whatever it is. Because the other thing I want you to keep in mind is this is really a journey, like the end destination, right? I didn't hit 1-star diamond and I'm like, okay, sounds good. My life is fulfilled, right? It's more so about the journey. It's not necessarily about that milestone or hitting the goal. It's more so about who did you become in the process, and hitting that goal is more so just confirmation of the person you're becoming, right? And so at the end of the day, what really makes a champion is just being great in that moment and willing to do the things that many others won't, right? There are many people who start coaching, many people who quit coaching, and it's because they're not willing to do the things that they don't want to do and they just want to do the fun side of things. Which I think it's, if you have the right, like, I think it's all fun. You just have to find the fun in it. Okay, I've got to move us over here. Look at these cuties. Okay, so when we're goal setting, we are going to set 1 to 3 goals, and that's it. I do not want you focusing, like, if you look at my vision board, I have like 10 or 12 goals. Well, tell me that every single day I can work on 10 to 12 goals. Like, that's not possible. So we're going to focus on 1 to 3 goals, and that's it. And remember, we're looking at a 12-week time frame. So if I have a goal that's like for summertime, I can focus on that later. I don't need to focus on that right now. What I need to focus on right now is, what do I need to do at the beginning of the year to start it out strong? So what we are going to do when we look at our plan, I just got to remember what I'm thinking here. What's my next slide? I made this like not even that, like, okay, perfect. So this is where we're going to actually spend some time writing goals. So you're welcome to write goals as I talk. That's completely fine. They don't have to be perfect. They can be rough drafts, whatever. But our plan, we're going to talk about our 12-week plan, right? Some of you guys have heard SMART goals before. There's a big movement as well in the personal development community that they're no longer like, we're not necessarily focused on SMART goals. We're focused on impact-driven goals, which is fine too. But you want to be specific and measurable. Like, one example I tell my students is, I hate when people say like, I am healthy. Well, what does that mean? Because I consider myself a healthy person, but I've ate like 5 cookies today because we baked, and I ate buffalo chicken dip, and I ate a bunch of junk, and we ate McDonald's and ice cream last night. So like, to me, I still consider myself a healthy person, but to someone else, like, they may consider that unhealthy. Like, they don't want to be putting any processed foods in their body, right? Specific, measurable. So it could be lose 10 pounds, lose 20 pounds, right? Like, it could be something measurable that you can say yes or no, I achieved this goal, right? I think of one, sign up girls under me. What does that mean? How many do you want? Another thing is, they should be written in the positive. So for example, if you don't want, like, if you want to cut out processed sugars, which is something a lot of people do, I'm not going to write, I will not eat processed sugars. I'm going to put something positive that's like, I will pick non-processed food for my body, or I will pick better food for my body. Then we want a realistic stretch. You hear stretch goals all the time, right? Like my stretch goal for this year was to make an income of $40,000 with Beachbody, right? That was my stretch goal. Realistic or not, it really wasn't realistic, like from what I made last year, because I made about 10,000 last year. But it stretched me. And so we want more so like a realistic stretch. So you want to go above and beyond because you obviously want to push yourself. But like to me, I'm not going to say, okay, I made 20,000 this year. I'm going to go for 100,000 next year, which I mean, I'm not saying it couldn't happen because I mean, Beachbody coaches have done it all the time. But for me, that's not realistic because I'm not full time and I do it in the pockets of time. Fourth is accountability. I am going to bring back accountability partners. I think we should do accountability partners for the 12-week cycles. I think that'd be really good. And then we could switch them up, but you have to hold yourself accountable and us accountable, each other. And then they have to be time bound. So when do you want to hit them by? They don't have to be the full 12 weeks, right? They can be broken up. They could be the 12 weeks, whatever, but they can't be longer than the 12 weeks because we're looking at a 12-week is our year, but then time bound. So I'm going to give you, let's see here. I'll give you about 3 minutes because if you want to set 3 goals, let's do 3 minutes to set 3 goals with this criteria, and then we'll move on to the next part because the next part dives a little deeper. So I would write a goal and leave yourself some room to write and then write another goal because you'll kind of write out under them. To clarify too, they don't have to all be Beachbody business goals. They can be whatever goals you want in life. I have been working with people on one, what was it, Steph? One business goal, one fitness goal, and one personal goal. Is that what we did? Yeah. So that's just a suggestion. Doesn't have to be that way, but that's one that I'm looking at too. Okay, you got about 30 seconds. Okay. So now we're going to move into the second part, right? Because goals are great. Goals are great. But how the hell are we going to accomplish them? How are we going to actually make them happen? So that's where we are going to focus on tactics and what are our tactics that we're going to use to get them done. So now for each goal, I would like you to create 3 to 5 tactics. So in those 12 weeks, what are you going to do to get them done? So I put an example here. This is my example of my business goal is to become a 2-star diamond coach. Okay. So my first tactic I can use is hold a push to emerald and a push to diamond pod, right? So we can do videos and brainstorm and stuff like that to help girls rank advance. Okay. Number 2 is host a coach sneak peek once a month to bring on new coaches and to give, if Steph has someone interested in coaching, but maybe she doesn't know quite yet what to say, what to talk about, then I can kind of help facilitate that, right? Number 3, support my coaches by checking in with them weekly. So my coaches who are working, my coaches who are showing up, doing a weekly check-in with them. Number 4, host meaningful team calls every week because I know the past like few months they've kind of been spotty. It's been about every other week we've had a team call, which is fine because we're busy, but having a good meaningful one each week. And then my tactic number 5 is talk to 3 ladies a week about coaching because I think a lot of times we focus a lot on it's a lot easier to invite to a challenge group and have them tell us no than to talk about the business. So I'm going to give us about 5 minutes to do this because it's 7:53 and there's not much after this. And so then we'll still be in our time frame here. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes and I encourage you to go on and do some tactics. And you can add to it. So if you want to stick with 3 for now and you can come back, but they should be something that you can physically do a check to. Okay. So you might need to go back to those. I hope you have maybe 3 that you can do. And now that you have those tactics, how are we going to execute this, right? So the reality is that the world requires that an effort be expended to accomplish great things, right? So essentially, what that's saying is, if you want good things to come to you in the world, if you want to be successful, you have to put in an effort to accomplish those things. And I wish that for all of you. Like, that's my number one thing, is if I can motivate you to level up your life and I can motivate you to live a better life than you did before, that's what really brings me joy, because I don't want anyone to be stuck in that. Like, I go to work, I come home, I watch TV, I go to bed, I do it all over again, right? Like, just kind of that boring remedial thing. I want you to actually enjoy your life, but it takes an effort to accomplish these things. So then we're going to score ourselves each week, right? So we're going to take our tactics and do like a little check with them, right? And then your weekly score is a percentage. So, like, for example, I have for my fitness goal, I'm going to create a weekly meal plan and create and stick within my grocery budget. Okay. So I have 3 tactics. And so, for example, say I had 4. If you had 3 out of the 4 tactics, then it's a 75%. So I'm looking at these as a whole. Like, I have 5, 3, and 3. So 14 tactics. So I would look and I would say, okay, out of my 14 tactics, how many did I do this week? And then I'd give myself a percentage. They say in the 12-week year, if your weekly score is less than an 85%, you're probably going to struggle to hit your goals. So that's a good number to keep in your mind, that you want your tactics to be above 85%. I think that this can be very much so applied with your Success Club tracker, right? In the back office, there's the Success Club tracker, and it's essentially the tactics we need to do to be successful as coaches. And so if each day or each week you're getting less, I wouldn't say each day, because, right, like, I let myself have grace on the weekends for sure. But if each week you're at less than 85% of doing the tracker, it's probably like you're probably not going to move your business forward very quickly. Okay. But I don't have time, right? That's a huge, huge thing to a lot of this. And I give you mamas who are juggling children and multiple children and all that, I give you props, because I feel like it's even difficult keeping my 2 dogs alive and my husband alive. And so I just want you to think about, like, when we say we don't have time, think about, like, try saying it's not a priority, right? Which, that's completely fine if Beachbody is down on your list of priorities. There's nothing wrong with that. I am not saying Beachbody has to be your number 1 priority, because I'm guessing for most of you, like, your kids, your husband, right? Like, for me, my husband and my dog are my number 1 priority. Then it's probably my teaching job, because I mean, I have to do my job to get paid. And then it's like Beachbody. And so just think of your priorities of your day and what can you sacrifice, like, to get your invite sent, right? Another thing is prioritize invites. Invites are always going to be more important than going in the accountability group and commenting on people's selfies, right? We always do that first because it's the easiest, but it's more important to invite 5 people and say, hey, this is what I've been doing. Are you interested? Can I send you some more details? That's more important than making sure everyone knows that they did a good job. So the other thing I wanted to talk about when it came to time is think about time blocking, time scheduling, and stuff like that. There's different ways. So maybe you can do it like maybe in the morning, like you could give yourself 20 minutes to write a post, or maybe in the evening, like I usually do my tracker the first thing when I get home, right when supper's cooking, right? I start supper, I let it be on the stove or in the oven, and I do my tracker while it's doing that, because typically I'm not taking care of Shane and the dogs and everything because I'm trying to cook dinner. And so think about ways maybe that you could do that to fit it in. If you look at Melanie Mitro, she has a ton of stuff on time blocking. I also highly recommend not trying to multitask. Like a lot of times I'll be like, oh, I'll do this and this at the same time. But typically it just takes me longer to do that instead of just sitting down and doing one task at a time. Okay. So a few tips on accountability too, because I feel like that's the other hard part when it comes to all this is like, how do you keep yourself accountable? Is promise to never be the victim again. I think that it's really easy. Like I've even had it lately where I'm like, oh, just nothing is going right. Or, oh, I just, these people are throwing me off, or no one wants to sign up with me. Or like we just justify why we're in our situation because of the things happening to us. So we want to take control of our lives. We want to be the ones in the driver's seat, not letting life happen to us. Okay. Number 2 is stop feeling sorry for yourself. That one's like self-explained. Just don't let yourself get down about what's going on. Number 3 is be willing to take different action. So maybe try new things, get outside of your comfort zone and do things you've never done before, because that will pay off. And then number 4 is associate with high performers. So it's good right now that you're here, you're doing this and all that, because you're associating with people who want to be better. But if there are people in your lives who are really dragging you down, they're not interested, like they make you feel less than when you're with them, or they just have no motivation. Like I try to just not talk to those people. Like if they are bringing me down, or they just are like, okay with the status quo, or they're like, why are you doing that? Like, why would you waste your time working out? Like, I don't get why you do that. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to talk to you, because if your mindset on it is like working out's a waste of my time, like you've got stuff to figure out on your own. So that's just a few things. Are there questions or anything like that? There's a lot of this, but what I will send out, if you want, like a template that we can type in your goals, your tactics, and then it'll have the weekly assessment on it. And then I will probably, for everyone who sends those in to me, I'll create accountability partners. And then for those 12 weeks, you can kind of get together. I will probably do like every 3-week check-ins, like if we do Zoom or whatever. I would like to do that, but then maybe like you and your accountability partner or your accountability pod could rate yourself each week and say, this is the percentage I'm at, or whatever. Up here. So if you have any questions, feel free. Otherwise, are we all good? Steph's good. Okay. That sounds good. Then I am going to end this, and we can all get ready for Monday and enjoy some. I know, that's how I feel. But I just tell myself break is almost here. I'm jealous of all the teachers who are done this week with school. I'm like, we go till next Wednesday. So
my husband just said some of us don't get a break.
Shut up. That's Shane. Shane's like, you get so much time off. I'm like, it's mentally exhausting.
And pharmacists don't get snow days, so be thankful.
Yeah, I know. Neither does Shane. He drove to work in the snowstorm. So we are thankful. But okay, that sounds good. Have a good night. Talk to you guys later.